It's time to start the meeting, and 7 o'clock, the meeting is called to order. It's Thursday, June 26, 2025. And please note that this meeting is being made available to the public through a video and audio broadcast on Comcast Government Access Channel for broadcast at future dates. Comments made in open session will be recorded. Okay. First up, we have a request for determination of applicability, an RDA, and what it involves is a West Elm Street and Dwelly Street water main replacement, approximately 9,350 linear feet of existing 10-inch unlined cast iron water main with a new 10-inch ductile iron and 8-inch ductile iron water main on West Elm Street, and the replacement of approximately 2,910 linear feet of existing 8-inch unlined cast iron water main with new 10-inch ductile iron water main on Dwelly Street. The project includes water service transfers, connections to side streets, new fire hydrants to maintain adequate space for firefighting, etc. Okay, representative, please state your name.
I'm Liam Henderson with Apex Companies LLC, presenting on behalf of the Pembroke Water Department.
Thank you. And make sure you speak up so everybody can hear you, especially me.
You got it.
And me. Oh, and Bob.
Hello, Nicole.
Alrighty, let's see. So as you've said, this is our request for determination of applicability for the West Elm Street and Dwelly Street water system improvements. With this presentation, I'm going to go over the project overview, the scope of work, and the water main installation methods. I'll highlight the impacts to the wetland resource areas and our proposed environmental protection procedures. So for the project overview and the scope of work, as you said, this is located on West Elm Street in Dwelly. On West Elm, we're going to be going from about 64 West Elm to 423 West Elm Street, which is the last house just south of the Hanover town line. That's the 9,350 linear feet of the new 10-inch and 8-inch ductile iron water mains. The 10-inch is going to be coming down from the water tank up to Dwelly Street, and then from Dwelly Street north it's going to be 8-inch. On Dwelly Street itself, that's the 2,910 linear feet of the 10-inch ductile iron water main. And all this work is going to include water service transfers, connections to the side streets, new fire hydrants, valves, trench pavement. After a 90-day settlement period, we're going to come back and do a 1.5-inch full-width mill and overlay, leveling course, sidewalk and curb replacements and upgrades, and all necessary and incidental appurtenances to complete the installation. The importance of the project is to improve the water quality, improve flushing operations, and to remove water main with heavy tuberculation, replacing it with new ductile iron with a cementitious lining that prevents the tuberculation. Scope of work and water main installation methods. So we'll be installing the water main in a trench that's 4 feet wide. It's going to be 5 foot to the top of the water main. We'll be abandoning the existing water mains in place, capping them properly so that soil can't flow in, creating voids and potholes in the surface. We'll be doing water service transfers, just connecting the houses to the new main, and we'll be installing fire hydrants. There'll be backfill. Compaction, we require that they test every 200 feet and achieve 95% compaction. Sweep and prep, and then pave the trench. This is going to highlight the work that occurs in the buffer zones. So here on West Elm Street, you can see the main is just outside the buffer zone, but our work area is going to be around it. So wherever we are coming into the buffer zone, we're going to have our environmental protection set up. This is the silt sock here in the red dotted line. And similarly, these all look somewhat the same. Coming through is the buffer line, buffer zone here, 100-foot buffer zone in the red. And there's where we're going to be putting up our environmental protections. This continues up over by West Elm Street. There's another area where we're going to be encroaching into the 100-foot buffer zone. And at the very end, we'll even be coming into the 200-foot riverfront area, but we're capping shortly after that, and all the environmental protections will be done in that. On Dwelly Street, we have a few areas where we'll also be inside the 100-foot buffer zone. Dwelly Street has our high point of the project, and some other buffer zone areas.
Thanks.
So our proposed environmental protection measures, same as before. We're going to have the 12-inch filter sock with a compostable filter material and a biodegradable sock, staked 3 feet on center. And for the catch basins, we'll be installing silt sacks. We're going to have a resident project representative on site observing these, checking them regularly to make sure they're not filled. We'll have them emptied and maintained. And in the event that there is an anticipated high rainfall event, we'll actually take them out so that the catch basins can do their job and drain the water off the street properly. In the event that we find water in the trench, when we pump out water, it'll be pumped into a dewatering bag, which catches all the silt, allows the water to go through. It's like the same fabric material as the catch basins. Here's a quick project summary. So we're going to have our pre-construction meeting. We're anticipating around September for a start date. You'll be invited to that, to attend that. First things first, once that's all through, we'll have our environmental protection controls in place prior to construction. It's our silt sacks and our filter socks. You'll be notified when they're in place so that you can come out and inspect them. And once we get your approval, we'll give the go-ahead to the contractor to start the work. That's the installation of the 9,350 feet of 10-inch and 8-inch water main on West Elm and the 2,910 feet of 10-inch water main on Dwelly Street. After the 90-day settlement period, we're going to do our full-width mill and overlay, restoring original drainage patterns. There should be no change to impervious areas. And once all the work is complete, the last thing we do is we remove those environmental protections. Are there any questions?
I don't have any.
Just on the installation of the trench, is it gonna be cut, diamond cut, or ripped out? How do they deal with the actual trenching in the road?
There's two main methods that are used. They either cut it or they use this thing called a zipper, which is like basically a mill machine that's narrow, 4 feet wide. Yeah. And that depends on the contractor, so that will be known once they bid on it.
Rough completion date of groundwork in that area. In other words, are we going to go into the snow season?
There's a potentiality for that, and there are certain restrictions working during the wintertime, which will be respected by the contractor. Obviously, they won't be able to finish it, I imagine, before winter, so it'll probably go through the winter time, and that's going to be work during winter months has to be approved by the town manager, and the final completion will probably be in the spring of all the road work.
Anybody else? No. Okay. Public comment? None? Motion to close. Anyone?
Second.
I actually am going to recuse myself from this vote because I live on one of the streets, so I'm just going
I don't think
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not
that
making any
matters.
money.
Fire hydrant
No.
doesn't.
Not making any money, so.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. It's not.
Okay.
It's not a
Yourself.
personal.
to. Okay.
Personal thing.
I see no
Something
reason
has to
for
be
it.
done.
I see
No, I'm just
conflict
staring
of
with
interest at all.
caution.
Okay.
As long as you declare that that's,
No, I don't have any special interest other than clean
All
water.
right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Bob?
I got-
Okay. And we will order conditions which you pretty much outlined. Notifying us, erosion control, particularly it's itemized in the drawings and your narrative, and notice of any pre-construction meeting, contact person, and supervision. You have daily supervision.
Mhm.
And a completion date?
That is not known at this time.
Okay. Okay. Anybody want to take that one, Bob? Anything to add?
That sounds good. I mean, unless the contractors or the engineers think of something else we should be putting in there to cover it.
Might
Notify
be-
you if we ever find anything damaged. You'll be notified of that too.
Okay. Including like maybe if you come across, say, a culvert or something like that, if you run across something that would be unstable to repave over, would you notify the town?
Yes, the town would be
Yeah,
notified.
okay.
Okay, well, the motion was for a -3 determination.
No, you made a motion to close. You now need a motion for the determination.
Yes.
No, we have to make that now.
Yeah.
Under the conditions that we talked
Discuss,
about.
okay.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Who made the motion?
Gino?
I
Gino?
guess I did.
Gino.
Okay. Gotcha.
Thank you very much.
All right. Oh, you need your disclosure.
And a disclaimer.
Oh,
Please note that any person aggrieved by this decision has a right of appeal within 10 business days. Please contact our office or DEP if you need assistance. Yeah. One down. Okay. We have a notice of intent for Furnace Pond Treatment, DEP number 056-1125. The project involves the application of herbicide, algicide, and/or alum in Furnace Pond. So please introduce yourself.
Good evening, folks. My name is Chris Frateroli. I'm a wetland scientist with Goddard Consulting, joined by Don Maringolo from Solitude Lake Management, on behalf of the applicant, Kathleen McCarthy, for the town. So we are here before you tonight with a notice of intent for, as you said, herbicide, algicide, and a low-dose alum treatment in Furnace Pond. We do have DEP file number with no technical comments issued by DEP. So Furnace Pond, it's more or less 100 acres, ranges from kind of 5 to 10 feet deep, relatively shallow. And the pond has a couple of issues that we're looking to address. Namely, we have kind of an overgrowth of invasive and nuisance vegetation. We have fanwort, bladderwort, water lilies, and a smattering of others. The pond does experience periodic cyanobacteria blooms, as well as filamentous algae. So these all kind of have a similar range of causes and effects, mostly displacing more desirable native vegetation. They contribute to organic buildup in the pond and eutrophication in that way. And cyanobacteria specifically is capable, certain varieties are capable of causing actual health problems in humans and pets. So those are a few of the issues we're looking to address here. The ways that we're looking to do it is with an invasive species management program consisting of herbicides. We are also proposing the use of a copper algicide known as Captain and a low-dose alum treatment, which is a little different than maybe your standard alum treatment, more so intended to just bind phosphorus out of the water column, phosphorus being a nutrient that contributes to the overgrowth of these species. Generally speaking, all of these herbicides are registered by both the EPA at the federal level and Department of Agricultural Resources at the state level for use in the water. So they are approved by the powers that be for exactly this use. They're all applied by certified pesticide applicators, Dom's team. They are all certified by the state. They take a test and do continuing education study to maintain that professional certification. We seek a DEP license to apply chemicals, which is kind of DEP's way of tracking these sorts of things. And as part of kind of standard operating procedures, they post thorough signage, notice posted publicly in advance of these treatments so that the public is aware of these treatments when they are scheduled to occur. So that is kind of the big picture overview here. We did receive a letter from DMF just this morning,
Yes.
so we are still kind of working through that to a certain extent. There are, a few things in there that I think are kind of easy to address, a few things in there that we feel they've contradicted themselves on a little bit. So if there's specific discussion on those items, we're happy to entertain that. I think that kind of sums up the project as a whole, and if there's kind of more specific questions about anything that DMF had said or any of the methods we're proposing to use, we'd be more than happy to answer those.
Well, nothing different than what you've been doing for the past 15 years or so.
That's correct, yeah. So I did want to mention that we have been doing this program for a number of years, and we've had pretty good success with the program. No adverse effects that have been noted or reported. I think the main difference with this NOI versus the previous work is we are adding the technique of using an alum treatment to reduce phosphorus levels in the pond, which is a key kind of factor in that cyanobacteria growth that Chris was talking about. It's also a technique that we've used very successfully in Oldham Pond upstream of Furnace Pond to control or help to prevent the formation of cyanobacteria blooms. So we feel that would be a good complement to the Furnace Pond program.
Well, you know that you won't be able to proceed until you get the okay from Division of Marine Fisheries.
Yeah, so we can talk a little bit about that. I can try to address some of the I see you have the letter in front of you. So we did obviously get that letter very recently. So I think the key thing to note here, the thing we're most concerned about is the recommended the monitoring program that they've suggested. So I actually pulled the document, and I can give this to the agent. It's linked in the letter at the end in the footnote. So the guidance document from DMF indicates that monitoring at this level is only required if we're asking for an incursion into the time of year restriction. So the time of year restriction is from, what was the actual, from March 15th to June 30th, and then from September 1st to November 15th. So actually really only allowing treatment work to occur really between July 1st and the end of August. But the DMF guidance document clearly says that the additional monitoring is only required if we're asking DMF to do work within the time of year restriction, and it's not required if we're doing work between in compliance with the time of year restriction. Also note that the Pembroke Watershed Association is doing a lot of monitoring on Furnace Pond as well throughout the season. To undissolved oxygen levels and water chemistry as well. So I feel that covers a lot of what's asked for in the DMF letter. But I do have that guidance document that I printed out. I know you guys haven't seen it, but I can give a copy to the agent here. It clearly says if the proponent requests an incursion into the time of year period, restriction periods, a request detailing the waiver, the length of time, the rationale for the request, and water quality monitoring program must be made in writing and sent to DMF. So we're not asking for an incursion into the time of year restrictions, because we feel the monitoring program is an unnecessary burden. The monitoring program outlined in the letter would cost the town probably just as much as the management program itself. I don't believe the town can really handle the cost for that monitoring program. But I think in general, we're on board with all the other elements of the DMF letter. So.
Are you doing any water quality monitoring during the period from July through August?
So I'm not familiar with the exact details of what Pembroke Watershed's doing, but we, in addition to just doing the treatments, we're also visiting the pond every month, and we have not done water quality monitoring in the past, but we would absolutely be able to add doing dissolved oxygen temperature profiles anytime we're ever out at the pond, water clarity readings, we'd be happy to do that. So.
Well, you know, I'm not familiar with what's required to satisfy DMF, but if the Pembroke Watershed's doing the standard, you know, DOPH, CT desk, et cetera, that could just be shared with them that, you know, this is already ongoing, maybe you're not aware of it, and kind of give them a response to this letter with that monitoring is being done by the Pembroke Watershed Association.
DMF's approach is the health of the fish. There's parameters for the health of the fish, which the watershed does not do.
Yeah, I'm just saying that the watershed's doing some water quality monitoring. They're probably not doing the exact same stuff that's in the DMF letter.
Yeah,
but they are doing
and that's
some.
where they're coming from. And they're the ones you have to convince, not us.
On the herbicide, last time I saw them spray for the water lilies specific, it was not supposed to migrate, and they stopped at the end, the outlet into Gorham Mill Pond from Furnace Pond. That was the area of stopping the treatment. It traveled all the way down to Hobmock Pond and killed in Mill Pond all the lilies in that pond, and all of them in Gorham Mill Pond, the small one abutting the dam to Furnace Pond. That wasn't supposed to happen. What type of things have changed since then?
Yeah, so the herbicide, so I believe what happened, the herbicide that we use on the
It
fan
wasn't
wort.
supposed to migrate.
Yeah, so the herbicide that we use for the fan wort control does have some temporary effects on, I mean, I'm assuming those lilies are growing back.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, the herbicide that's used for the fan wort is referred to as flumioxazin. So I think I don't know if we had a rain event or something right after the treatment, but I think what we're gonna have to do moving forward is we're gonna have to keep a buffer distance of at least a couple 100 feet away from the outlet structure. Typically what we do is we visit the pond monthly in the summer season. We survey very carefully to find where the invasive species are, so we map out where the fan wort is, and then we return later on to do the actual treatment. So that particular year we had fan wort growing right near the outlet structure, so it was very close proximity to the outlet. So I think moving forward, and there's probably some other factors, maybe a heavier rain or around that time right after we treat it or something like that, but I think we just need to maintain a distance away from the outlet no matter what we find. And also, as I said, the herbicide is not, that used there is not systemic, so the plants usually grow back very quickly.
This one was
Very
systemic.
temporary
This was a
effect there.
systemic treatment
Yeah.
where it went down through the leaf into the root.
Exactly.
Thus killing the roots and all too. So that's not the type of treatment you're doing?
It's not, no, that particular herbicide is a contact herbicide, so it only has temporary effects.
Have you
on
treated-
water
That's good to
lilies.
know.
Have you done any treatments yet this year?
So we have an existing order of conditions that was extended, I think with the Permit Extension Act. So we have done one treatment this year, and we've been doing our surveys, so we do have an
Glyphosate?
active order.
Are
I'm
you-
sorry?
Glyphosate?
We have not used glyphosate this
'Cause,
year. No.
Are you familiar with Gorham Mill Pond? It's downstream.
Downstream, yep.
All the lily pads have been wiped out completely. There's no stems. The water is clean on top. It's brown sediment in the water. All the lily pads are gone.
Is that this year, or is that what you?
That was
were
from-
talking about?
Yeah, they're
permit.
gone, 100%.
They
It was
imploded and
chock
died.
full, and they were all healthy. And a couple days later, they were all dead.
Yeah, the lead, so this is a different time than
I
you're
think
talking
it's a
about?
different time that I'm
Well,
talking
it's
about.
happened the last couple of years.
Okay.
This was, I think, roughly when they did their celebration of the 250th. And it migrated miles, not just a short distance. It migrated 2 miles
2 miles.
and took over a mill pond of
That was
probably
13
10
years
acres.
ago.
10 acres
That was 13
downstream.
years ago.
Okay, well, I wasn't involved with the I thought you were talking about something recent.
I'm talking
Well,
about
no,
You
like
are talking
today,
about something.
like right now.
Okay.
And also,
The-
we have Water Willow and Glover Mill Pond,
Yeah.
which is downstream from Gorham,
Mm-hmm.
under Center Street, Mill Street, Habermark Street.
Mm-hmm.
There is Water Willow that it was blocking the area coming into the pond. It was like a 10-foot area, it was all filled. Now there's a spot that's dead in the middle.
This is Water Willow's emergent plant?
Yeah,
Yeah, so not, the herbicides that
It's
we use on
brown.
the fan wort wouldn't have affected that. It could have
yeah.
been, could be something else.
So that doesn't have
going
anything
on.
to do
No,
with it, but
No. Yeah.
So I guess I have a question, if that's okay, Mr. Chair.
yes.
Thank you. So essentially, what you've indicated to us is that you intend to provide treatment outside of the restricted timeframes that DMF has indicated on their letter, correct?
So we'll comply with their time of year restrictions.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
I see that they're recommending, 8 different benchmark monitoring periods?
That's
That
correct,
they-
yeah, it's 40, yeah, that they specify 48, 24 hours prior and,
24, 48, 5
a
days,
bunch
7
of
days,
different
14 days, and
benchmarks.
21 days?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's very extensive and very costly.
Would it be entirely unreasonable to do at least some monitoring? And,
No.
you know, I mean, even if it was,
I mean,
say,
they're,
after treatment and prior to, just, you want to make sure you have your chemistry right, but like,
and
if it
these
were prior
are
to and
reservoir
afterwards.
replacements,
And then maybe-
replenishment water.
and maybe then check prior to migration, if it's anywhere close to the migration period or the restricted time frame, because then that cuts it down at least in half.
And
For
consider
monitoring.
that Pembroke Watershed might be doing some of it already.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And then we have the herring fisheries, you know, so, you know, those are all outside of our
I
conversation.
think
here,
weather
but-
would be something to really watch. That
Yeah,
could,
well, they're asking for
just,
the
you know, that would be something to just watch.
SECI test, which,
Oh, it's water clarity test.
yeah,
We could do that.
for different levels, I don't know too much about that, but. and
Yeah,
other
we could
things.
definitely, if the commission's agreeable to a revise, or kind of revised monitoring schedule, we can develop that for your review.
I would love to have all of the monitoring possible, but
In my
it's not in our
opinion-
budget.
Typical, they're not making any, I mean, these are all boilerplate conditions. They're not making any specific recommendations based on this exact project, these particular herbicides. This is general, and it's very onerous, very expensive. Monitoring herbicide residue at 1 meter intervals, it's very, very difficult. It would be very difficult for us to comply with this. I don't believe the town would even be
All right.
able probably to move forward with this program at Furnace Pond without.
You're gonna have to deal with DMF in writing, I'm sure, and work this out. In the meantime, if we were to close with the condition that application be performed after approval by the Division of Marine Fisheries, we can leave it at that, as long as we get a letter saying that it's okay by them. Because,
Would that satisfy you?
So if we wait for them to
Oh.
respond, like you're saying, we're gonna miss the ultimate
most important treatment that we need to do, which is in the beginning of July. We've already been delayed extremely long, unfortunately, with the NOI, with something out of our control, but bringing it to you this late in time is, like I said, out of our control, but we should have brought it to you quite earlier. So right now, the thought process was to treat with alum on July 8th and 9th.
Sorry, would you mind introducing yourself
Sure,
just for the
Kathleen
video?
McCarthy from the town of Pembroke.
Yep. Perfect, thank you.
So as it stands right now, like I said, July 8th and 9th was the intended treatment plan with the brand-new
alum.
program that we
For
brought in
alum.
for alum, right?
For alum,
Which
yeah.
was requested from the board in prior meetings, that you wanted us to try something different,
Yeah.
that the copper sulfate was just going down. So we went ahead, got financial capability to do the alum treatment, because as you know, it's a lot more expensive. Furnace, we've used it for over 20 years, there's never been an issue with it, so we brought it
That we know of.
Right.
well, they do pre and post surveys, and there's never been anything that's
No
actually.
research done to see what could be happening either, so it's kind of a go on faith type of thing. you
Right,
know?
but there hasn't been anything that's come forward that's actually proven that
Nor
the
has
treatment
there
has
been
affected
studies to
anything.
try.
We do a lot of different lakes in Massachusetts, throughout New England with alum.
Yeah.
It's been
Oh, no,
been used
alum-
for over 20 years.
I'm just
It's used for
considering
drinking water treatment plants. It's
The
pretty well
the
understood.
dead life falling on, herring eggs. Nobody's done studies on any of those things and what it actually does. We're past that point, they're now at another stage, but nobody's done studies to see if it affects their eyes or their gills. So again, we're going on faith.
We've done a
Because-
number of treatments with alum and
No,
that.
no, I'm not saying the treatments haven't been
done.
done, I'm for it actually. But I'm just bringing up the truth. Nobody's done the science to prove it one way or the other concerning the fish at different stages. That's what I'm saying. I'm for it.
We also have Pembroke Watershed
I'm not against
person here that would like to actually speak on behalf of the quality control and the measurements that they've done with their
I'm
immersed
for the project.
machine, if you'd like to hear.
I'd like to get some
For the project,
clarification.
I'm just,
Do we have to get approval from DMF?
Yes.
What is the
We
situation?
do not actually
Yeah.
physically have to have approval, they get to make recommendations.
Okay.
And then you, the board, make a decision on behalf of the recommendations and the needs of the town. I also just want to point out real quick as well, the total budget for all 3 ponds to be treated is been cut this year to $50,000. The total treatment cost is $86,000.
Yep.
So I'm already encumbering $36,000 just to cover the basic needs for the ponds to keep them clean. We've had great success in the past with the treatments, and if we
Yep.
step back and don't continue to treat them, we're just gonna have wasted all that money over the past 20 years. We have a great relationship with the company that we're using right now. We haven't had bad reports from the townspeople, maybe here and there after a heat wave or excessive rain, there might be a bloom here or something like that there, but the vegetation's down, and, I mean, I don't, Gino, I think you had said that the lilies were down in Gorham. I just kayaked last week, and I honestly didn't notice, but I will definitely
They're-
go back out again.
They're gone.
But we just
Completely.
treated Furnace.
But, say
We had
what?
just treated Furnace, so I don't
So
even
this
know if that would
was-
be.
Probably 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago or so. So that wasn't you then.
June 11th, we treated.
Yeah, it was right there, yeah, it was right there.
Did you go down to Gorham and you?
No,
no,
No, but we may, I don't have the treatment map in front of me, but we may have treated near the outlet, so that, and with, certainly with all the rain that we've been having this spring, it's probably some heavier
well,
flows.
there's only
there.
one island on the whole pond.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, there's only one island on the whole pond about 30
that's,
feet across.
that's Oldham,
No, this is Furnace.
with an island,
Yes, just by the
the
Swedish.
inlet,
Go up there,
but it's connected over to the side, that's why I
right
was
by the
confused.
outflow. There is an island. So if you're anywhere near the island, you're near the outflow in that code. There's only one island.
And also, Herring and Fisheries had come forward, I want to say it was 5 or 7 years ago, because we had to contact you, to have Gorham treated for lilies, because it had encumbered so much that you couldn't get through there.
Yeah, there was.
And there was a.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Exactly, and there was a question about the fish being able to go through, so we did treat that, but I want to say it was 5 or 7 years ago, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I
But we
I have
haven't
another
done it
question
down the
regarding
sites.
DMF. Okay, so they've provided this letter. Is there a liaison that can talk to them to say, okay, we appreciate your recommendations, but this and that? So just to diffuse this, if they're thinking that they have the authority to tell us we can't move ahead. I mean, there needs to be
I mean,
some
you
back and
can
forth.
speak with your circuit rider, I mean, at DEP, but the DMF has no direct jurisdiction to officially review these NOIs. They basically, they are sent, the NOIs to provide comments and their thoughts and comments to the commission to consider. But yeah, they're not actually issuing a permit, or they're not actually
Right,
issuing
and
regulatory approval.
And the
of
last line was
project.
questions regarding this. They didn't say they
Yeah.
expect anything back or
That's
anything,
correct,
but
yeah.
don't want someone to,
It's ultimately up to the commission to take their letter into consideration, make their own decision, that's correct.
And just to be clear, the only need for a monitoring program would be with an incursion, correct?
That's my understanding, but the way the letter's written, doesn't make, it's kind of ambiguous.
Yeah.
So what would happen in a situation where there is a duplicate of what I'm talking about, where you stop the treatment at Gorham Mill and don't treat it, and it wipes out everything in Gorham Mill Pond, and it goes down to Hobmock Street and into Mill Pond and wipes out everything there? What would happen? Because nothing happened that time. We have a lot of water lilies.
So again, the water lilies will grow back, the herbicide we use, but we had.
You know, but what would be, who would be responsible? What happens in a case like that?
Well, they'll grow back, so there's no permanent damage, but I'm taking into consideration your reports and comments. I didn't
Yeah.
receive all this information, so I mean,
I'm not
internally,
pointing the
we'll
finger, I'm saying,
maintain.
what would happen in a case where there is obviously something went right?
Nothing, I mean, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've never had a situation where there was severe environmental harm done with any of these aquatic management programs. So I don't know how to answer that, to be honest with you. So we're regulated by the folks, the commissions and DEP. As Chris mentioned, our staff's licensed applicators with the Department of Agriculture. We follow the EPA approved labels, and we get the DEP permit as well to use the product. So it's pretty heavily regulated and watched.
So was Roundup.
Also, Solitude does do a pre and a post
Yeah.
survey of the
Oh,
treatment
yeah.
and a year-end report.
That's why I think what
Yeah,
she
we
was
actually-
talking about, like the science part of it, I think it behooves everybody to try and at least do some of it. You know, but not duplicate it either. You know?
I mean, I'd just like to know too, I mean, the glyphosate is still registered for use in the United States.
Right,
It's still
right,
approved.
right, right.
It's not, I mean, there's.
Like I said.
Yeah, so I mean, there's Massachusetts had a glyphosate commission as well, so if you're interested in their findings, there's a report on the glyphosate commission. I believe the recommendations were, there was no recommendation to stop or withdraw the registration in Massachusetts either, so, I know. But I do have that extra guidance document, I don't know if you want a copy,
Sure.
I printed it out, it's linked in the DMF letter.
I did just want to highlight something from DMS letter, just for the record, because I think it's really important for people to be aware of this. So it mentions here in there, it's on page 3 of this DMF report, or response. It says, let's see, sorry, excuse me. Basically, herbicide treatments should be used as a complement to, not a replacement for, source reduction strategies such as fertilizer application BMPs, which are best management practices, low impact development stormwater management designs, reduction in impervious surfaces, wetland restoration, and maintaining vegetative buffers. So we have so many people who live on the ponds, and a lot of communities are, especially down on Cape Cod, are hopping on board with sort of essentially putting some limitation on the amount of nitrogen that's being put into these, these watersheds. And I think that that's something that we really do need to consider, is the communal responsibility that we have here in Pembroke to ensure that we're not contaminating our waters, because that does lead to algae blooms, and it does lead to an increased
Well, we are.
need for paying for services to ensure our waters don't have these problems. And I think if we all just kind of banded together and figured out how we could, do our own little part in this, that something like this could mitigate a lot of the things that we were addressing today. So just to say that on there, because I think they made a really good point in that letter.
Mr. Chair, if I could just make a comment,
Yeah.
somewhat personal comment. What you're talking about, I was involved with a scientist, engineer, back when 9/11 happened. The day 9/11 happened, I was touring the town just for that purpose, and did not know 9/11 happened until we got back. And it sticks in my mind. And so, since that period of time, we've had it on mind anyway, if nothing else. Means we need to act more than just talk.
So touch a little bit more on your point as well. I can't agree with you more. It's not something we can make people do, but I want you to know the town is being proactive with Title V requirements, with our stormwater through DEP requirements. We're all in compliant with all that. The town also is offering a septic betterment program. So for people, when they do fail their septics, we can offer you a financing option that you might not be able to be capable of getting somewhere else. So we are being proactive on hitting on all those notes as well.
Yeah, on the town side, for
Except
sure.
for
You got it, yep.
14 project where they still didn't manage the water coming down from the center into Furnace Pond. Because we would have had the big dig like in Boston. So,
I agree, it's a very
Sometimes you
long-term
win,
goal
sometimes you
to
lose.
to address watershed management, just from a slightly different perspective. There's a lot of legacy nutrients in the sediment in this pond. So while it's
Yeah.
great to look long-term watershed and trying to protect the pond, it's a little deceiving. Watershed management is not a replacement for pond management. There's enough nutrients in the pond to support invasive plant growth for the foreseeable
Long time.
future. So it has to be a two-pronged approach, continue with in-lake work as well as watershed management, and trying to prevent future pollution from getting into the ponds.
I've always
I'd
thought.
like to make a recommendation that we come to a resolution on this, that someone respond to the DMF,
Well-
and that it include what the Pembroke watershed is doing. They are doing water quality sampling. I know they are to that degree. I don't know that it's on the timetable that's described here. That may not be achievable with the costs that are incurred and all of that.
That's all well and good, but, right, opening paragraph, the applicant is requesting approval to use, and then they name 5 or 6 different chemicals that you're gonna put in the water. We can't approve
Yes, you can.
of
Yes, you can. You are the.
chemicals that we don't know.
Yeah, but you are the approving authority in this case. So the Conservation Commission is the approving authority in this case.
We're the approving authority.
At this case,
However,
nobody else steps up, it's us.
if DMF has questions about it, how can we say, oh, yeah, whatever, yeah, you can do it anyway?
They don't have questions about the individual herbicides, so that it's not necessarily the commission's purview to approve the use of these herbicides. That is decided by DAR and DEP. They have registered these products for use in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
You're not actually approving the herbicide, you're approving the plan
Right.
here that includes the use of these registered permittable herbicides, but the plan, don't feel like you're saying it's okay to use each individual products. It's not really your job to do that. Other agencies have already done that.
Well,
And they've reviewed the data safety
My-
sheets.
I've
Yeah.
seen. with
my
own
point
eyes
being, if
vibration.
they're saying
Horrendous.
that approval is requested,
They're not.
and
Yeah,
They're not.
so what they're saying is you're requesting approval of a plan that includes application of these herbicides.
Right.
They're
Right.
just stating a fact. That's
Right.
what they're doing. They're not requesting anything.
It is
I think
time
we're
sensitive.
kicking the ball all around the thing.
Yeah, it is
Yeah,
time
get-
sensitive.
trying to get back to
The
that.
first paragraph is really just summarizing our plan in a very
What the
short.
actual NOI
When
is
the
requesting from the
herbicide
town
takes
member.
place, what's this time span between the alum treatment and the herbicide treatment? Is
So the
is there time to talk about it later, or is it gotta be dealt with right now?
So the
Could we go
herbicide,
forward on
honestly,
the alum and then still, what's,
without being,
something.
if we weren't in a Dodgems fish situation here like we are at Furnace and Oldham, we would have
Be
done
no
the alum
problem.
treatment probably in May. But because we're limited, so we try to do it as early into the allowable period as possible, which is early July. So that's why we have that plan, and that's why we have the same time of year restriction at Oldham Pond, so that's why we do that treatment as well, early July.
And besides that one treatment, the other treatment has been one that we've also used for, I think, 18 years
Yeah.
in Furnace.
Right.
5 years, you can.
Mr. Chair, we had the folks from the watershed attending.
Mr.
Would
Chair,
you like
I'd
to
like-
speak as well? Yeah.
I think we need to move ahead.
Yeah,
This is kind of a,
Public
you know,
comment.
kind
Open
of,
for public comment.
we've spent all this money.
Okay.
We have a short period of time that they're
Yeah,
asking to do
Time
this in.
sensitive.
Yeah,
We need to do it just to keep it going. I mean, whatever the wordage to get done what needs to get done between now and the time that they're talking, let's put it in words that is acceptable and go ahead and do it. Because if we don't do it, we're just losing ground. We'll be back in the same spot again.
okay.
We
When do
need
you-
to,
when
we
do you
need to
have
save our
When's
lakes
the drop dead
for the
time that you
fish.
have to do this?
We currently have the Oldham Pond alum treatment. We're gonna do Furnace Pond when we were done with Oldham, so I think that was the 8th, July 8th, we had that.
How long is the
I don't see any problem
10
myself
days.
with the alum treatments. I mean, it's been being done, it's effective,
All right.
and it's time sensitive, you're treating the
Oldham has
problem
done
correctly.
very well.
Right.
And it is a low dose, and that is why it has to be an annual treatment, and it's not a one-time, once every
Right.
5 or 10
Correct.
years. We do the low dose for the mussels as well as the fish in Oldham.
Yeah, we are, as you know, we also have natural heritage issues in Oldham. They've approved the use of alum there, even with the endangered mussels.
And you're doing it in Halifax and Hanson now, right?
We've done Monpont ponds a
Yeah.
number of times, they all both.
And we have that
those also.
invasive little freshwater clam from Asia
Oh,
that
great.
has taken over the pond,
Yeah.
like,
Mr. Chair,
So
did you want to
thoroughly
get a public
unbelievable.
comment, please?
Yeah,
Ready
I'm
for-
not, I'm not ready yet, because
the chair, there is a person
my
who would like
understanding
to.
with the NOI is that DMF, if they make a recommendation, it's to do it at certain times. Those recommendations are rules that have to be followed.
We are following the time of year.
Right.
We
Okay.
are gonna comply with the time of year
Now,
restrictions they've requested.
If they're,
The only thing we have an
So
issue
I-
with again is the monitoring
I
program.
mean,
That's a-
I read
That's only
this,
with
but
the
I was
incursion.
under the impression,
That's my understanding, yeah.
I was under the impression that you had to speak with them and address their comments, because we gather information and make educated decisions on moving forward. And if we have a question, I do at least, if they're questioning it, I'm not an environmental analyst or a chemist or anything. Who are we to say, yeah, go ahead and do it anyway?
Well, I think.
That's my moral dilemma right now.
Yeah, I mean.
And I would like to say to that this has been going on for 5 years, same
15.
process.
Going on for longer.
Yeah,
Yeah, 15.
whatever, and you've had DMF
It's-
agree to it every year. This
But-
year you had, let me finish, please. This year you have an environmental analyst that's questioning this, okay? And she's come up with the water quality management plan, which I fully understand. I've done all this myself as a scientist. All of this material I've done before. I understand that, but you've got a process in place. This is being paid for. This is a recommendation. It's not a requirement. They're not an authorizing agency at this point in time for any of this. But I think as a courtesy, it should be responded to, and it should include, we are doing this, we are doing that, and we have the Pembroke Watershed Association that does periodic treatment. No, you're not doing it within 24 hours, 5, 7, 14 days, et cetera, but you are doing something. It's not required. It is not a scope of work. It's not a mandate.
And as I agree with the agent that monitoring is only required if we're going to ask to incur into the time of year restrictions they've set up, but we're not. We're complying. We're going to work only between July 1st and
I think that's a
August
bit of
30th.
a stretch. yeah, they have that period that you must if you go beyond it, but do a little water quality assessment in between that time, like at Pembroke Watershed, so
Yeah,
if
no.
you're doing it in July, great, you got it, you've covered, the base is covered.
Do you plan on responding to this?
We have tried in the past with DMF. They never revise their recommendation letters.
Well,
It's
this
just-
is the first time that I've seen an environmental
We've had.
analyst. Brad Chase is not a scientist.
Yeah, we've had similar letters recently for several other projects, and we've made no headway trying to have any kind of conversations that change their recommendation letters. So, I mean, honestly,
You don't have any dialogue back and forth?
we've had dialogue. Nothing that we've said changed anything, and
I
they're
just
not
think
willing to
some-
change their letter.
Some dialogue, some response will just clear the air, so that you know you're okay.
They're just gonna reiterate the letter. We can try again, but we have tried
After
several
public
times.
We can definitely send something
Yeah.
back to them with
Yeah,
a
okay,
response
great.
of, this is what our intentions is,
Yeah.
we're going to,
Yeah,
intentions are, this is how we're going to address, this is what we're doing.
Yep.
We can definitely
Okay.
do that.
Yeah, we're doing this.
Exactly.
I think
I'd
we
love
need to
for-
take that thing.
I'd love for the
We are
president
gonna
to
do it.
speak
Public
on what
comment.
they're actually doing, because I think you'll be impressed.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Okay,
Let's
Thank
hear
you.
excuse
that.
me, after public comment, we'll make a motion to close. And in the conditions, I'll call them, you call DMF, and you gotta make a call and answer
We can
some,
prepare,
and
as Kathleen
address
said, we
it,
can
just
prepare,
what you just said.
Absolutely.
letter to-
And
No problem
we'll leave it with the condition moving forward that we square this away, and we're gonna approve
And
it.
also keep in mind, DMF, I'm sorry, is always involved with our treatment dates. We let Brad know, we've always had open communications with Brad. Why he didn't handle this particular case, I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
This was the person that responded, and then it was actually sent a month ago to them, and we
Really?
just got a response yesterday. And that's why, unfortunately, beyond our control, here we are.
No.
But we will definitely address that, and I can even give Brad a call. I have no
Yeah.
problem doing that, like I
Well,
said.
give Brad a call, but-
He's always been open, but he's also been okay with all the treatments we have done for the past 15 or 20 years without
Yes.
something like this. But again, I would love for you to hear
Okay.
what they have been doing, because
Go
I think
ahead.
that will cover that section.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Okay, so my name is Judy George. I live on Furnace Pond. As of 3 years ago, I retired down here from a biotech job that I did for 30 years in Cambridge for some biotech companies that you might recognize, Biogen, Moderna, and others. So I've taken over the water quality testing for the Pembroke watershed, and this is an advertisement.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Awesome.
thank you.
Thank you.
But Are you all there?
Am I what?
Are you really all there by taking on that
I'm
responsibility?
enjoying everything that I'm doing. Got a little boat
Good.
and a little dog that helps me do the
Good.
water
As
sampling.
long as
So-
you have all that, then that's what we need.
Up until last August, we just did a once-a-year survey of about 10 different critical elements in the pond that were sent to analytical balance, and we did some SECI testing, and we did our own turbidity testing. Since last August, we've acquired and paid for with a grant, with an EPA grant, we have indwelling sensors that are right now dwelling in Furnace Pond and in Oldham Pond.
Finally.
An entire set of sensors that measure daily, actually 4 times a day.
Yeah.
They measure dissolved oxygen, pH, chloride ions for the salt runoff, and temperature. And so I drive out to the boat, it's 4 feet down in an 8 feet section, I pull it up, and by Bluetooth, it all goes to my phone, and we get .csv files delivered to my email, both here and at Oldham Pond, and I'm gonna be able to collate this data and give actual, not unsubjective data, but actual scientific data about the health of the pond over an entire recreational season. What we hope to do with that information is to write and get grants for further evaluation of the ponds and to figure out how, especially Furnace Pond with its very shallow depth,
Dredge.
is contributing to its say, compromise, fish compromise. There's nothing more compromising to fish than the temperature of that pond today after 2 90-degree days. When I started measuring the temperature in the pond, it was 70 degrees. It was beautiful. It had a dissolved oxygen of 10 milligrams per liter, which is beyond healthy. After 2 90-degree days, the temperature is up to 89 degrees. There's nothing less healthy for any fish, a herring or a cod or a carp, than a hot body of water that's very shallow for them to swim in. So the purpose for all this testing and the purpose for doing the testing in this manner is to find a way to make Furnace Pond deeper. Now, that having been said, we are very grateful to Cat and Solitude and all the effort that's been put into keeping this pond as healthy as it is today. When we start testing after winter is the best friend of this pond because it cools down.
Yeah.
When we start testing, the pond is like Winnipesaukee. But it is so shallow that by the time the recreational season is over, the pond is in dire straits of becoming a more compromised body of water that even fish don't want to swim in. So, but we are very grateful to the water quality has been maintained with these treatments over long before I came here, going back to 2010, and the watershed has data of all the analytical balance data that we have going back to 2010. I spent some time this year putting it all into an Excel file, and I made some slides to present to the Watershed Association a couple of weeks ago, and all the data is pointing to the depth of the pond as being the most drastic change maker in the health of the pond. But we want to show you this with actual scientific data. So at the end of this recreational season, we're going to put all this data together. We're using Oldham as our benchmark right now because Oldham is our most tested and our healthiest pond. And I think it's the most tested because the public beach is there, and I think that's fair because you don't want to invite people to a public beach to a compromised pond. Furnace is probably the least healthy pond, again, owing to its depth. But we're very grateful for these treatments, and we don't want to see an interruption of the treatment while we get other strategies thought out in order to make sure the pond is there for the next 100 years, which is what we all want. We want the herring run. The herring run is a jewel in the crown of this town, and we don't want anything to happen to the fish, and we don't want anything to happen to the herring run. I got school kids come by the carfuls to come and see the herring run. It's a beautiful thing. I want to make sure that I'm devoted, and the watershed is devoted to making sure the health of the pond is maintained and even improved. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and what I would further propose is the testing that we're doing may, even though I haven't read this letter from Fisheries, may overlap with some of the things that they're looking for in terms of pond health. And so what we're collecting and what they're asking for may be very much dovetailed in one particular report that I could submit as a volunteer, or I could work with Solitude, and we can make a three-way communication system to make sure that Fisheries is happy with what we're doing and make sure they're happy with the treatments, and we're making sure that we can show scientifically that the treatments are helping. I'll tell you this, after the June 11th treatment, the dissolved oxygen went up 2 to 20 milligrams per liter of dissolved oxygen. I think because the algae died, there was more oxygen available in the water to be consumed by the fish that were there. So watching that DO go down after the treatment made me very happy. Although as a scientist, I need more than just one data point to make that. But in my mind, that's what I thought would happen. The algae went down. There was more dissolved oxygen available for the fish. So the dissolved oxygen that we measured went up in its data. So anyway, I'll stop talking because I want to be able to answer questions, or at the very least conclude my comments by saying we're happy to work with Solitude by sharing data, and we're happy to work with Fisheries, but we endorse these treatments heartily. And we're also in a campaign to get people to leave plants in front of their houses so that they can soak up the phosphate when it runs down into the water. So
How many locations do you have these sensors at?
I have one sensor in Furnace and one sensor in Oldham. They're in 8-foot deep water at the 4-foot level.
Before the heat wave we had there, you said it was up to about 10 parts per million, I guess.
Yep.
What is it now, or most recent?
This morning it was 6.
6, okay.
And this is because of the temperature change.
Yeah, well,
And that's still acceptable for fish, I think.
It is. 4
It
to 8 is acceptable for health of the pond. What I was trying to address was the difference
Sure,
the
yeah,
temperature
that's a
made
significant
and
change.
the difference that the treatment made.
Any suggestions on what type of testing would put a person with my mindset about the chemical load that I've seen when it says it doesn't migrate? I've seen it migrate. I saw the effects, they were real. what type of tests could help secure a future that is more positively reinforced?
I think when you look at testing of a body of water, you have to look at the
That we're
overall.
not doing.
We are doing it. All the
I'm saying
critical.
the ones we're not doing, that haven't been done, or they're not being carried forward.
What we haven't done is directly measured the glyphosate or some of the chemicals that you're putting in. Is that what you're suggesting
Yeah.
would be a measure? I don't consider that in my mind right now as an early water tester. I mean, I do come from mammalian biology, not fish
Yeah.
biology. But I don't consider a direct level of the diffusion of those chemicals to be, to have in any way a
Significant.
direct measure of the health of the pond. The direct measure of the health of the pond are the biological sequences and the biological data that you collect for the health of the pond in terms of oxygen, pH.
Yep.
The pH of the pond this morning is 7.2. Beautiful. It's textbook. Like I said, it's Winnipesaukee. But you have to indirectly measure the effects of the chemicals in order to figure out how, or guess how they're affecting the fish. I'll tell you this. The fish are beautiful in the pond this morning. There was guys fishing this morning, they were catching fish, and they were just basically jumping into the boat. So whatever treatment we did on June 11th did not hurt the fish. The other thing that I want to address is the lily ponds. The lily ponds are more of a nuisance than a help, although I know fish will swim under the lily pads
Yes.
for the cooler water to avoid the heat. There's nowhere to swim, even with lily pads, in 90-degree water. There's
Yeah.
nowhere for fish to swim.
Yeah.
So we have to think about the temperature of the pond in its recreational season. We also have to think about oil. We asked people at our meeting a couple of weeks ago to check their two-stroke engines because occasionally we see oil slicks on the pond and we see oil building up on the shore.
I hate to
After
be
rainstorms, definitely.
I hate to be a devil's advocate and say this, but wouldn't surface area vegetation cause some degree of cooling, even if it's just like a little bit?
On the surface or
Yeah.
on the bottom?
Yeah, like if it was like a
Lily
lily pad, like
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
maybe even just like partial.
I'm not against lily pads unless they get in the problem I built. I mean, basically,
Fair.
you know, we're all up in the recreational part of the pond. I wouldn't complain about lily pads, but I happen to know that this treatment did kill the lily pads in Furnace. They killed them at my boat ramp. They killed them around, and no one's really upset about that. But if the only reason why we keep the lily pads around is to make a place for the fish to go where it's cooler. The fish are not cool no matter where they go in a 90-degree
Question
pond.
about what we need to do.
It's 89.9 this morning when I did the data analysis. It was like pretty striking. It will go down a few days. It will go down a few degrees over the next few days as it gets cooler, because we all know that we take advantage of water as a heat sink for both heating and cooling, and the pond is no different.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much for
very
everything
much.
you're doing. It's so cool.
Okay.
Keep up the great work, seriously.
Okay, what do we need to get this on? I believe that we really shouldn't have no choice. We need to go ahead with what has to get done, to keep everything going and all. Someone has to word something between Solace, you Kathy, UK, yeah, you, and Gino, you need to get your side of it in.
Yeah, well,
But we need to
I'm
put
just trying to do
something
the
out.
right thing.
I think we need to say, yes, we're gonna go ahead. That's what, I
All
move
right.
we go ahead with,
Do you need a motion from me, or
No.
is that what you're?
No.
Okay.
all right, motion to close,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Want to handle this one, Bob?
I don't know just what the technical words are, but I wanna go ahead with what we're doing with this treatment as it's set up at the present time.
Yep.
Well, your motion is to issue an order of conditions.
Per outline,
The motion is to issue an order of conditions.
Order of conditions to
time of year.
allow the
Absolutely.
treatment
We're gonna abide by
application
it.
as
We always have.
scheduled as soon as they can do it.
Yes.
It's not like nobody would notice if we went outside the timeline.
Yeah.
Everybody follows.
Whichever, somebody can put it all in some good words, but I mean.
Well, that's
So
all
we
you
need to
need.
iron out our conditions then and decide what our level of comfortability is gonna be if we were to
Yeah.
issue an order.
I don't care what I think from
Well, we
these letters, they're
haven't-
saying,
It's,
We have
you
an order.
you take some responsibility, okay, we'll
A
take
standard
some
order of
responsibility.
conditions that
do.
we've used in
Get
the
it
past.
done.
Yes, we
Yeah.
used it for Oldham Pond.
Okay.
yes.
So
Years.
I've
For
put that,
years.
I've put that together for you, and it covers a lot of these issues that you've spoken about. So what you need is you needed a motion to issue an order of conditions with conditions discussed at the
Yeah.
meeting.
So move.
Second.
Good job.
Call for the vote, please.
Okay, so that, well, he can't,
We have a second, Rick seconded, wait.
I
you two?
seconded it, so.
he's got to
He made the
He did.
motion.
make
So-
the motion.
so
And
moved.
it's a second, and all in
Whatever he
favor.
said.
There you go. Good.
I was like, oh, what did I miss?
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Kate, does that
Thanks for your
include you
patience.
talking to
I
Brad?
didn't want to be difficult, but
You don't even need to.
No.
But
you don't
I
even
was
need to
concerned
explain it.
about
When new
EMF's
stuff happens, we
position.
have to be diligent.
I think we cleared that
We
up.
have to be diligent when new paperwork shows up.
Please note that any person aggrieved by this decision has the right of appeal within 10 business days. Please contact our office or DEP if you need assistance. Thank you.
Thank you very
That
much.
was a tough-
Thank you, guys, and thanks for what you do for Pembroke.
Yeah, ditto on that one. That's,
Sorry. The thing is that we have so many hands in the handbasket.
Okay. We got
Center
a couple
Street.
more things to go through. It'll be quick. We have a certificate of compliance for
50 Cranberry Road.
50 Cranberry Lane, 1993. It's a no-brainer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I move we issue certificate of plans for 50 Cranberry Lane, SE 56 something.
Second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's done. Approval of the minutes. Anybody have any objections to accepting the minutes?
No objections,
Of-
they look good to me.
April 3rd, 2025.
No objections.
No objections?
I move we accept the minutes of April
Second?
22nd, night 25.
Second.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Done.
A couple full things going on here.
And that's the CO. That's it. I think we got nothing else.
Well,
I
we
move we
actually.
close.
Oh, wait, hold on, I'm so
No,
sorry.
that's not on the agenda.
I know, can I do something now?
Oh,
Real-
yes, if you were gonna say thank you, then, and bring it up, I was gonna mention that, but go ahead, you do it. That's fine.
Okay, well, I mean, technically it's two things, I don't wanna push it too much. I mean, I see that we have this trail work proposal from Miss Tracy
Yes.
Marino for the Wildlands Trust.
And it was accepted
that-
by the, select board.
Okay, so then that's
moving
just
forward,
for,
so
that's
all
for our
we can do
information.
is say, thank you to Wildlands
Thanks,
Trust.
guys. You're the best. And then the actual thing, was, we have Miss Kyla Stearns here. She's from the Nature Connection, so she does a lot of different tours of our trip. I don't know, would you like to come to the podium and just come explain all the amazing things that you're doing? I know, I'm sorry, but just come and introduce yourself, because I think that you're doing you're generating interest in the youth of Pembroke, and I think it's really important that you talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry
Kyla
to put you on the
Stearns.
spot.
I run a nature club that I take kids all to different trails. I'm passionate about Tubbs Meadow. You know, I go there, bring the kids there all the time. Misty Meadows, the Wildlands Trust. I'm a nature teacher, so I like to get out there and, you know, bring the kids out to
To
learn
the true
about.
classroom.
Yeah, nature classroom, learn about, you know, our wildlife and our plants. And recently, myself, I tried to get the club to go, but I went and cleaned up Tubbs Meadow for Earth Day.
Thank you.
It was really trashed, you know, there was a hockey net for my skating, and I dragged it all the way out, and
Oh, you're the one.
that was me, yes.
Well, when the ice was there, and then a week later it was
It was gone, yeah, so very thankful for the dumpster being there. That was very helpful, that I didn't have to fill my whole car with the trash from the trail. But I'm very passionate about being outside, and I just came because I really wanted to help you guys. I did put an application in to volunteer to help in any way that I possibly can, any way I can help. She's here.
I have your name, I missed it when you got up there.
Oh, you want
What is your
signature?
name?
Kyla
That's it?
Stearns. Yeah, and I've
Just one?
actually met Gino at the Herring Run. I don't know if you remember me.
You look familiar.
Yes.
but-
Yeah, we talked about all the fish swimming, and at the Herring Run, a good hour, we chatted.
Just an hour, you
Time
must have
flies
been
when
busy.
you're having
We
fun.
talk to a lot of people about fish.
Yeah, so, you know.
Yeah.
I've done some events at the Herring Run as well, so.
Are there any upcoming events that you want to just put out into the airspace for anybody to be aware
Not
of?
right now, I'm taking the
Okay.
summer off.
Fair. Okay.
I have 2 young kids myself, so I'm kind of doing the nature thing with them. They both go to school, and, yeah, so.
Awesome. Thanks for coming tonight. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I'm sorry,
That's
Gina.
okay.
I
I'm
didn't-
there,
That's
but.
Well,
awesome.
that's
You know.
fine. Yeah, I was wondering what she was waiting for.
Well, she
'Cause
was
you
here to
didn't-
see
you
if
didn't
she,
tell me.
if she, you know, like,
never
it's just
told
like a
me.
lot
Want to
of
learn about the
information.
anti-poison ivy jewelweed and the sweet pepper?
Yeah, I
So-
mean, I'm still learning
And the
plants
hogs.
myself. I feel like when you're studying nature, it never ends.
Oh,
No,
You know what
absolutely.
I mean? And nature to
Absolutely.
me is your best teacher, so.
And just when you
um,
think it does end in your environment, they bring in something like Russian olive.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for coming
Thank you.
tonight.
Thanks for what you do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
See you again.
Yes,
See you
definitely.
around town.
All I have to
We'll
say
see
though
you.
is, can I say one more thing? Just a suggestion to you guys. Like, social media wise, like, it was so hard to like find out when your meetings were, or like where they were. I think if like you posted more just like of what the Conservation Committee actually is and what they do, I think there's a lot of people that are interested in coming. They don't know about it. They don't know what time you meet, where you meet. You know, I didn't know. For Nicole, I had to message her saying, so when is it? Where is it? You know.
There's a
Have
lot
you
of that
checked out the
stuff.
Open Space Committee as well?
I have. Tracy Marino's actually a really good friend of mine.
Oh, wonderful.
They just
Why don't you
social
get on the,
media.
So, yeah,
Committee.
again, but that's another one of those things, trying to find when and where the meeting is difficult. You like really have to like.
call
search for it.
Tracy.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I think she's the
I think
chair.
you're right, we're too loose, we need to be brought
Well, there's no
tighter
newspaper any
together.
longer.
I think just getting the word out, like it was just so hard to like, you know, I had to go to town in Pembroke to find, you know, under the public
Yeah, that's what it
meetings
is.
to find, but like if social media is such a big thing now that I feel like if people saw it,
It's a big deal. Yeah, as long as we're not causing
You're the
any
chair, you're
headaches.
responsible.
no, I think
It's a
you can just keep-
consideration.
You're the chair,
I think you
your
should just keep it
responsibility.
simple, you know what I mean?
Well,
Like you don't have to
I'll
put
pass that on to
everybody's,
Secretary.
yeah, you could just say, hey, this is when we
tell her
meet,
that.
where we meet, please come.
Love that. No, you bring up a
Yeah.
good point. You know, it's like, so the agendas are posted on the town of Pembroke's website. So if you go to, just to say it, because, you know, we're talking about it, for anybody who doesn't know, if you go to the Pembroke Conservation Commission webpage, our agendas are posted on the bottom right of the page. So it's almost like if you're curious about when we're meeting once or maybe twice a month, but it's usually the first Thursday of every month at 7 o'clock. So, our agendas get posted 48 hours in advance, give or like, or more in
Yes.
advance.
Mass General
and-
law.
Yeah.
Open meeting
Under
law.
open meeting law, and, so then those agendas just, you have to almost kind of keep tabs yourself on that. It's nice to have a feed, to be like, hey, guys, just a heads up, it's tonight, because then that generates more interest. But just for now, pending further review, we have it just posted there, and then it's also posted in town hall for people who don't have access to computers or internet.
Yeah, it's been hard. I mean, I've even sent emails like, just to conservation in general, and like, because when I did
Yeah.
the Earth Day, I really wanted to like have the whole town involved cleaning up tubs. And I got like no response, so it was kind of like, that was hard. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't stop me, nothing's gonna stop me from going out there,
Yeah.
you know, but it was one of those things where it was like, if you had somebody who just took care of that,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, just said, hey, this is when the meeting is, or like, hey, you wanna clean up, go for it, you know, like,
Or letting them, students know that they can actually get their social work taken
Yeah.
care of
Okay,
through
is
programs
is your meeting
concerning
done?
exactly,
conservation in the
Close it?
town.
Do you
That'd be
want
a
a
good
motion to
conduit.
close?
yeah.
Motion to adjourn?
Exactly.
Well,
Thank you for the suggestion.
she
Okay.
started, I didn't want to do it right in the middle of
Okay.
her.
All right, no, I'm done.
Motion to
Move
adjourn.
it close.
Okay, well, thank you
Second.
very much.
Yes, thank you,
sorry.
take care.
Take care, good to see you.
Oh, wait a minute, wait a minute.
Didn't hurt my feelings.
Yes,
No.
no.
No, you're okay. We're done.
Done.
Oh, Go ahead,
We're all
motion to
done.
close.
We did already.
I did.
Okay.
We just need an all in
Second.
favor.
All in
Already
favor.
seconded.
Yeah.
Jim
All in
Campbell.
favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.